Welcome to your Finite Math Lesson 2.4. Today we're going to talk about scalar and matrix multiplication. So two objectives, you're going to be multiplying a matrix by a constant and then you're going to be multiplying two matrices together. Alright, so scalar or constant multiplication, it's very intuitive. You just multiply each element by the constant. So if you've got 3 times 2 negative 1, 0, 5, you're just going to multiply each element by 3, and so you're going to end up with 6. Negative 3, 0, 15, because that's just each of the elements multiplied by 3. Now, if you will recall from Algebra 2, multiplying matrices is not necessarily intuitive. First of all, you have to check that you can do the multiplication by looking at the dimensions. So let's just talk through the process and then we'll actually see it in practice. If A is a matrix and B is a matrix, to find the elements in each cell of the product AB, multiply each element of each row of A times the corresponding column of matrix B and add these products. Two matrices can be multiplied only if the number of columns of the first matrix equals the number of rows, of the second matrix. Matrix multiplication is not commutative. In other words, AB is not equal to BA. Alright, so we're going to find the product. If the product is not defined, we're going to state the reason. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to check to make sure whatever product we're being asked to find exists. So we've got AB and BA. Let's look at AB first. Well, A is a 2 by 3 matrix and B is a 3 by 2 matrix. So if we're doing A times B, we've got a 2 by 3 and we're multiplying by 3 by 2. What you want to check for is that these middle two numbers, the numbers in red there, are equal to each other. If they're equal to each other, then multiplication is possible. The outside two numbers will give you the dimensions of the product matrix. So we're going to end up with a 2 by 2 matrix. Okay, so A times B is this 2, 3, negative 1, 4, 2, 2 times 1, negative 3, 7, 2, negative 2, 5. So we're going to be multiplying the rows, just like it's rows by columns for the dimensions. That's how we do the multiplication. We're going to be multiplying the row, the first row of A times the first column of B, and that's going to give us our first row, first column element of the product matrix. Then we're going to go through and we're going to do first row of A times second row of B, and that'll give us the first row, second column element. Okay, we've run out of columns, so we're going to go down to the second row of A, multiplied by the first column, and then we're going to do second row of A times the second column of B. So the question is, well, how do you do a whole row times a whole column? Well, you multiply the first two elements together, and then you put plus, and then you do the second two, you multiply those together, and then you put plus, and then you do the last two elements together. Multiply those together, and then you find the little baby products and add them together. All right, then you go through and you do the second thing with the first row and the second column. So let's look at this in action. Okay, so first row times first column is going to be 2 times 1 plus 3 times 7 plus negative 1 times negative 2. Okay, and that's this element right here. So now we're ready to do first row times second column. So you're going to have 2 times negative 3 plus 3 times 2 plus negative 1 times 5. And that is first row, second column. So now we're ready to do the second row. Second row, first column is going to be 4 times 1 plus 2 times 7 plus 2 times negative 2. And that's this little guy down here. We're going to do 4 times negative 3 plus 2 times 2 plus 2 times 5. And that's this guy here. It's very important that you show this work when you're first learning how to do matrix multiplication, because that way if you make a mistake, we can find out what went wrong. Okay? So now we're going to find the little baby product. So I'm going to do 2 plus 21 plus 2. I'm going to show that step. I've got 2 plus 21 plus 2, negative 6 plus 6 plus negative 5, so minus 5. 4 plus 14 plus negative 4, so minus 4. Negative 12 plus 4 plus 10. And now I'm just going to simplify. 2 plus 21 plus 2 is 25. Negative 6 plus 6 minus 5 is negative 5. 4 plus 14 minus 4 is 14. Negative 12 plus 4 plus 10 is 2. And that is the product of A times B. Okay, so let's do B times A. Well, for B times A, I'm going to be doing this 3 by 2 matrix times this 2 by 3 matrix. So again, you check that the middle two match. If they don't, then the multiplication is not possible, and your reason is dimension mismatch. Just like with addition, if they didn't have the same dimensions, there is a dimension mismatch. For multiplication, if the middle two numbers don't match, there's a dimension mismatch. Now the outside two numbers tell us that we're going to end up with a 3 by 3 matrix this time. So obviously order matters with multiplying matrices, because AB was a 2 by 2 matrix, and BA is going to be a 3 by 3 matrix. So they're not going to be the same. Okay, so let's look. So we're going to go through that same process. We're going to do this first row times this first column. So 1 times 2 plus negative 3 times 4. And then we're going to do the first row times the second column. So that's going to give us 1 times 3 plus negative 3 times 2. And then we're going to have 1 times negative 1 plus negative 3 times 2. And so we've done the first row by each of the 3 columns. So now we move to second row because we've run out of columns. So we go to the second row. So 7 times 2 plus 2 times 4. And then 7 times 3 plus 2 times 2. And finally 7 times negative 1 plus 2 times 2. Okay, so I've multiplied the second row by each of the 3 columns. So now I'm ready to go to my last row and multiply by each of the columns. So negative 2 times 2 plus 5 times 4. And then negative 2 times 3 plus 5 times 2. Then negative 2 times negative 1 plus 5 times 2. All right, so now let's do the baby products, and then we'll add. So we've got 2, and then plus negative 12, so minus 12. 3 plus negative 6, so 3 minus 6. Negative 1 plus negative 6, so negative 1 minus 6. 14 plus 8. 21 plus 4. Negative 7 plus 4. Negative 4 plus 20. Negative 6 plus 10. Positive 2 plus 10, and so let's simplify. 2 times negative 12 is negative 10. 3 minus 6 is negative 3. Negative 1 minus 6 is negative 7. 14 plus 8 is 22. 21 plus 4 is 25. Negative 7 plus 4 is negative 3. Negative 4 plus 20 is 16. Negative 6 plus 10 is 4, and 2 plus 10 is 12, and there is your product. Okay, guys, not a lot of examples because we're not doing that many different things. You just need to be able to apply this. So go ahead and do the products to try on your own. They are products because it's multiplication. The problems to try on your own, and we will go over those in class. Thank you again for taking such good notes and watching the video. It sure does help in your learning process when you do that. You need to watch these, so I'm so glad that you did. Have a great day, and I will see you in class.